I'm kind of just figuring life out. I make this content so that you can learn from my mistakes, because whenever I was starting my journey, and to this day, I watch a lot of podcasts and content creators on these kind of topics. If it wasn't for them, then I wouldn't have been as encouraged to follow my dreams. So I make this content in the hopes that someone will take something from it. And if I can just help one person pursue their passions, then that will be enough for me. This podcast episode, I'm going to be confessing a lot of things that have been going on this year that I haven't really told social media about. Whenever I first quit my job, I was very open and very vocal with you on what I was doing and who I was working with and the things that I was doing for money and things like that. And then I feel like everything changed the past 2 years, and I've been going through a lot of personal business changes. Now I'm at a point where I want to open up about them and share my experiences, so hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that I did, because I felt like during it was definitely a very emotional and vulnerable time. So of course it was hard for me to, no one wants to pick up the phone and start crying. So now that it's over, I want to talk about it, so hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that I did. So whenever you think of wanting to be following the entrepreneurial path, you usually have a full-time job or a part-time job, and then you're working on your business on the side, and then eventually your business starts to make enough money to where now you can quit your job. I sort of did this, but things really ended up changing for me, because as soon as I quit my job, about a month or 2 months later, the business that I had, which was an e-commerce business, plummeted and everything went down the drain. And I think I actually explained this in my how I lost my first 10K, because I made my first 10K month and I was like, oh, I can quit my job now, and I quit. And there's a lot of stories of this on YouTube that quit when they make their first 10K month, or when they first replace their income that first month, they quit, and then everything is just uphill from there. But for me, it was the complete opposite, and that's happened to me several times now. So I want to be the person on YouTube or podcasting that is like, hey, be careful. It's not always going to work out like that. And I really struggled a lot figuring that out on my own. And no one talks about the failures. What if it doesn't work out? That's why I want to put my story out here. It almost broke me. It did, but that's why you build resilience, because obviously I'm still pursuing entrepreneurship. I can't even imagine all of the people that tried entrepreneurship and then it happened what had happened to me, and then they didn't say anything, no one talked about it. And that's why those stories are not out there. You only hear the success stories, so when it doesn't happen to you, it's hard. Either way, I know on a long enough timeline, I'm going to be very, very successful. This is just one of the things along the way that has happened. Whenever I first quit my job, I was like, okay, what are my skills? What do I do for money? My e-commerce store had no more. I was banned from eBay. Actually, I couldn't continue selling stuff on eBay. And I also realized, hey, maybe I don't want to be an e-commerce business owner of a product that I don't align with, I don't enjoy. I do enjoy the pursuit of entrepreneurship. I enjoy everything that comes with it, but I realized anything dealing with a product-based business was probably not, I can't really leverage it as much as you can leverage a digital product that you don't need to produce. You just make once, and then it's, no inventory. It just keeps on selling. I went the digital products route with a brand. Basically, I ended up going full force on this digital product, and I saw the amount of volume of sales that it had produced in very little time. I stopped doing all of the other freelancing things that I was doing. I had about 7 streams of income, but like I said in my last podcast episode, if they all take up your time, then what's the point of having multiple streams of income if they're not working for you? You're working for them. The path that most influencer entrepreneurs take initially is and from what I've seen, is doing social media marketing services for other companies and other people, or content creation for other companies and other people. And that's the route that I started going at first. And I had my group of clients. I was building a social media marketing agency. I had a virtual team. I think this would have worked out, but I was completely uninterested in having a social media agency. I think that a lot of people do have success in this, but in the end, I enjoy content creating and I really want my content to impact a lot of people. The hard part is that at first it's a little bit foggy because you get positive feedback, you get paid, you're making a living from doing these freelancing things, but you don't realize that you're actually creating another job for yourself just because you're independent of being employed under someone else's company, but now you're employed to your clients and you have to answer to them. If that's not your dream, then you're building just another golden cage, as they would call it. I always had a clear dream in mind. I always had a clear goal, but I wasn't pursuing it because I needed to make a living. And because I needed to pay my bills, I couldn't focus on it. And I've talked about this in other podcast episodes. Before the past 2 years, I had never had any sort of financial stability. I had always had to make my own money to survive for food, clothes, rides to and from high school. Like from a very young age, I had to really overexert myself to just have the necessities to get by. Seeing this much money right away, I went full force on it and I was working on this brand full time. I was making content from morning to night and I would have over 20 TikTok accounts at the same time, but I would only post on 5 of them a day and I would post 3 pieces of content minimum on them a day. At one point it was 5. Most of the time it was 3. So I would post minimum 15 TikToks a day for a month. This drove me past my first 10K month with this brand and then all the way up to my first 20K month with this brand. And basically what ended up happening is my accounts ended up getting flagged because this is when I think TikTok is still very strict and I think it's going back to being very strict, but my accounts started getting flagged and then I guess TikTok realized how they were all linked together. From one month to the next, I made my 20K month and then the next month I literally made like $2,000. This was really hard for me to conceptualize because I don't know why I thought I can rely on my social media strategy to now be sustainable if I know the marketing aspect of it, but it's hard. And even I realized that this happened long term with everyone else's accounts too. My Instagram engagement got cut in a third, and my other account is barely getting any story views now. Now I know like I need to be more consistent on content posting, but it was just never this dead. Well, I think it's happening across the board, but a lot of people's TikToks accounts got banned. Even my close friend Andrea, her stuff got banned too, and same thing happened to her. Gave me a huge wake-up call, and I kind of realized I was spending time on something that was also not my dream, that I was doing to make a living, to make an income, to support myself, and I was also building a job. If I hadn't had that income cut, then I would have continued doing it, and then years would have gone by and I would have been like, wow, I completely neglected my dream or for building a business that I was not aligned with. That did not represent me. Blessing in disguise, I stopped making that much money, like from day to night. Craziest thing, I never expected it. From day to night, I stopped making money, and in that moment, I had wished that I'd spent as much time on my passion and my dream rather than on another company that had failed again. I think it all comes back to the question, if money wasn't a thing, what would you do for free? And for me, it comes back down to content creation. I still have the other brand and it's making me income passively, very little, but it's still kind of nice that I have a team and they run it and I kind of just step away and let them do the customer retention side of it. And I just kind of, now I'm back to freelancing and finding different gigs to do with content creation and social media marketing, but honestly I really don't enjoy doing that. So I'm also going full force on content creation. I love entertaining people and I love encouraging people to follow their passions and do whatever they want to do, teaching them productivity and time management and self-improvement and things like that. That's really what I'm passionate about. That's what I'm doing. And I know another opportunity will come. I'm learning to trade right now, actually, still. I'm in an investing class with a mentor, and it's something that I know I'll build a skill set to do later on and really interests me, and I will build wealth that way. Long-term and short-term investing really interests me, really aligns with what I like, which is calculating things. I love graph and math and things like that. So this is all of that. I realized to build wealth, I don't need to own this big company. Maybe eventually. I just need to find the right thing to scale. I don't know if it's a product-based company. Probably not. It will probably end up being a fund. I'm very much an introvert, and I like working alone, and I like being alone. So trading is something that has always interested me. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've been learning on and off. Honestly, had really not great mentors. They were my peers, so like, what would you expect? My mentor now is a very experienced investor, and I'm very grateful to have them. I'm documenting my journey to building wealth. Eventually I will create a fund once I build up my skill set, take the Warren Buffett route. So I feel like I'm back to square one. I even drove Uber for 2 months a couple months ago. I had positive experiences but also negative experiences trying to do other freelancing things so that I don't end up Ubering again, even though it was all right. I just can't connect. My brain just doesn't allow me to be like $20 an hour whenever I know I could sell a $20 product X number of times, and that wouldn't be related to my time. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And this year I moved back in with my mom just now, last week, 2 weeks ago. And I just kind of have to say, hey, I'm back at the eat dirt stage again, and that's okay. And I'm going to be the one to talk about it on the internet because no one wants to. I will put my pride aside and not care and just show you the reality of what this life comes with, and just be prepared. If you want it, you want it. And if it's not for you, then don't quit your job, or find a job that you enjoy that aligns with your values. I applied for a couple of jobs in the last couple of months, and none of them got back to me. And everyone that I've spoken to in my inner circle about job hunting has been like, yeah, it's really dead right now. Nobody's really hiring. And it's really scary because a lot of people with degrees and everything, and I don't have a degree, I just have a lot of experience, but a lot of people are just not getting interviews or anything. And applying for each job requires like a cover letter and paragraphs, for the application. So it was just a lot of time, and I'm like, okay, maybe let's not do this. Maybe I'm not getting responses for a reason, but this is just me being transparent and vulnerable with you because I really appreciate other creators that are transparent and vulnerable with me in my journey. So I'm just paying my dues. I feel like I would love to work for a company that aligned with my views and also gave me the freedom, but I just don't think that's what I'm meant for because everything that I've done shows otherwise, and I'm never attached to anything. So I'm not attached to this lifestyle either. I just feel like I keep getting pushed in this direction, so I'm just going to go with the flow now, and this is where life is taking me. I'm excited to be consistent on this podcast again. I realize that I've really put it aside for these other businesses that required my full attention. That's just not me. I'm right here. I like creating content and I like sharing my experiences.